My name is Rob Souza, and I'm with the OC Impact Project. And today we have Peter Kitzerow joining us with Peter Kitzerow Financial. And we're talking about your book, You Are Smart Enough. So why is it that you tell people they are smart enough, Peter?
Well, first of all, Rob, thanks so much for having me here today. I came up with the title really years ago because I tell people that at just about every meeting I have with them. And the reason I do that is because there's a great deal of mystery. It's like a black box and what's inside the box. And gee, it must be really complicated to do the right things for myself financially. And what I've learned over my 40 years in the business is it really isn't. It may be a foreign language to you. It may be concepts and ideas that you're not intimately familiar with, but that doesn't mean it has to be complicated. If you have somebody that's willing to tell you the truth about your situation, about the opportunities that exist, the pros, the cons, all the facts, if you will, and meld them with your particular circumstances, you are smart enough to make absolutely correct decisions about what to do. That's where the title came from.
Absolutely. And I love that you break things down into really simple analogies. So right now, let's talk about chapter 4. Let's play blocks.
I grew up in I guess I was a small child in the 60s, and we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have video games, we didn't have anything high tech like that. We had things like erector sets and Lego blocks and Lincoln log cabins. And what was really interesting, we could be very well satisfied and use our imaginations for hours on end. And our parents had peace because we were playing very contentedly. And somewhere along the line in my business, somebody showed me this idea about blocks. And the idea is this, everyone has priorities about what's important in their financial plan. And the typical way they get addressed is for the financial advisor to say, well, Mr. Client, please tell me what your priorities are with regards to your financial plan. And boom, you're now on the spot and you have to try and think of them. And again, if this is not something that you deal with on a daily basis, it can be a little intimidating. You're not sure if you're going to say the right thing. So I decided, let's play blocks. And so what I did was I had these blocks made. I hope you can see them pretty well. I'm holding them in this frame because they're individual blocks and they'd be all over the floor otherwise. But these are priorities that everyone has in terms of their financial plan, whether it's taking care of their heirs and beneficiaries when they die. Preserving their wealth means I can't afford to lose it. Taxes, we know they're only getting worse, and it's something that people really need to focus on and reducing in their retirement plan. Liquidity means, I need to have X dollars in cash in the bank just to feel psychologically comfortable. Okay. Sometimes people think of liquidity as, well, you need to have this in cash to replace the hot water heater or the AC unit. And while that may be true, my experience is the liquidity issue really deals with psychological comfort. Growth means that, chances are you're going to live to be really, really old. And if that's the case, your wealth has to grow so that you always have enough income to live on. You don't really need so much growth today to live. You need it for the money you're going to spend 10, 15, or 20 years down the line. Income. So while you're working, you're an income earner, you're a producer. And when you retire, you will become a spender. And to many people that I work with in our age bracket, that's a dirty word, the spender. They think of themselves, well, I don't spend too much money. Well, it's not about you spend too much. It's about you need to spend from your resources in order to live. That's why you save the money. And if you no longer have a career or a job providing for that, that's the whole point of the assets that you saved, was to provide income for you. So most people, they have a priority on some level in their retirement plan that their money has to generate income, or said better, cash flow that they can spend at the supermarket. Debt. So do I have growth in there twice? I do. My apologies. I guess we need to have a lot of growth in the portfolio. But debt, debt is one of the two greatest killers of wealth that exist. The first one is taxes. And believe it or not, it's not only young people who have debt, and it's not only people who don't manage their finances correctly that have debt. Everyone does on some level at some time or another. So whether you're young or old, managing your debt or finding a way to get it paid off quickly or using it to your advantage, and most people are completely unfamiliar with that idea, is something that could be incorporated in your financial plan. So what I do is I lay all of these blocks out for people in a line, in a straight line, and I say, okay, I want you to take the one that's most important to you and put that at the top of the column. And then the second one, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth, until we've defined all of your priorities. Because now you know what's important to you in terms of your financial plan. So whether you work with me or someone else, and they recommend a product or a strategy, the first question you need to ask yourself is, does that product or strategy speak to my priorities? Does it match my priorities? And if the answer is no, you can discard it right away and not think twice about it. If it does, that means further consideration and further investigation would be appropriate.
I appreciate it. It's such a great way to break it down to helping people understand the building blocks that you have to work with to create the actual outcome, which is a successful independent retirement. And I like the way you break it down into a very simple, here are the building blocks. You go ahead, you control what the priorities are. And instead of putting a round peg in a square hole, you actually show them that, hey, we can develop a plan that's based on your personal building blocks, your personal priorities. And that's what we're going to get into next week with the process of taking those building blocks and start building something built based on their priorities. And I'm super excited to talk about that. But if you'd like a copy of this chapter that we're talking about today, chapter 4, how can they go about getting that from you?
Well, the easiest way is to click the link below this video, and we'll be happy to send you chapter 4, I believe it is. If you can't wait and you want to get the whole book in your hot little hands, you can go to Amazon.com and search for You Are Smart Enough, Peter Kitzerow, and you'll see that book, and you can get it either in print or you can get it in Kindle if that's the way you prefer to read.
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited to hear the next chapter. This one I can identify with because I was a Lego fanatic. So next week we will be talking about the process of putting a project or a plan or a creation together that is built around personal preference and creativity. So I'm super excited. Thank you, Peter, for joining us this week, and we'll catch you next week for chapter 5, the process.
Thanks for having me, Rob. I look forward to it.